Please, just make it fast," cried the Virgin Maid. The billionaire stood still and did the unthinkable. A desperate maid runs into the richest house in the city to save her sick sister and pleads for one quick favor. The billionaire doesn't rush her away. He freezes the room, offers a guarded bargain, and puts her under his roof. She takes the job to save a life. He keeps her close to protect his empire. But a hidden photo, a planted USB, and a whisper about a family cover-up make it clear. Someone is framing her. Now she is trapped between a boardroom war and a personal debt, and he must choose between power and the woman who refused to beg for mercy. Their nights grow dangerous, their days full of secrets, and their rules start to break. Who is setting her up? Who will pay the price? And what would you risk to save the person you love? Drop a comment below and share which part of the world you're tuning in from today. If you enjoy stories like this, don't forget to subscribe for more. The rain pelted Mia Hart's second-hand umbrella as she rushed through the city streets, her worn shoes splashing through puddles. Her phone buzzed again, another message from the hospital about Lena's mounting bills. She ignored it, just as she'd been ignoring the growing stack of envelopes marked "Final Notice" on her kitchen counter. 3 weeks, she muttered, dodging a taxi's spray. Just 3 more weeks to figure this out. Her phone chimed again, but this time it was worse. A text from Daniel Pierce, her ex-fiancé. "Remember when I promised to take care of everything? Guess some promises are meant to be broken. Good luck with Lena." Mia's fingers tightened around her phone. 2 years ago, Daniel had walked away when Lena's diagnosis had turned their comfortable life upside down. Now he occasionally surfaced just to twist the knife. Vale Manor loomed ahead, its stone facade a fortress against the grey morning. Mia checked her watch, and her heart sank. She was 7 minutes late. The coffee in her travel mug sloshed as she hurried toward the staff entrance, her interview folder protected inside her coat. "Please still be open. Please still be." The door opened just as she reached for it, colliding with a harried-looking assistant. Coffee splashed across the woman's pristine white blouse. "Oh my God, I'm so sorry." Mia fumbled for tissues in her bag. "This is Valentino!" The assistant snapped, dabbing futilely at the spreading stain. "Is there a problem?" A stern voice cut through the chaos. An older woman with steel-grey hair pulled into a severe bun appeared. Rosa, the house manager Mia had spoken to on the phone. "I'm Amelia Hart for the 9 o'clock interview. I'm so sorry about—" "You're late," Rosa interrupted, checking her watch. "And you've already caused a disturbance." Her sharp eyes took in Mia's rain-splattered appearance. "Follow me, though I doubt this will take long." Mia's heart sank as she followed Rosa through service, corridors that probably cost more than her entire apartment building. This job, with its generous salary and comprehensive health benefits, was her last real chance to help Lena. She couldn't blow it. The service hallway opened into a soaring marble foyer that made Mia feel even smaller in her dripping coat. Crystal chandeliers caught the grey morning light, casting prismatic patterns across the walls. "Wait here," Rosa instructed, leaving Mia alone with her panic. "Please," Mia whispered to herself. "Just make it fast." Make what fast? The voice was quiet, but it filled the space. Mia turned to find a man studying a twisted metal sculpture, his back to her. Even from behind, everything about him radiated authority, from his perfectly tailored suit to his precisely cut dark hair. When he turned, Mia's breath caught. Sebastian Vale's photographs didn't do him justice. His face was all sharp angles and controlled power, his grey eyes cool and assessing as they met hers. "Sir, I apologize. This candidate was late and caused an incident." Rosa began. Vale held up one hand, and Rosa fell silent immediately. He studied Mia for a long moment that stretched like warm glass, saying nothing. She fought the urge to fidget under his gaze. "Miss Hart," he finally said, her name precise in his mouth. "Your references are exceptional. Your background check is clean. But there are irregularities in your application timing that concern me." Mia's heart thundered. She needed this job, but she wouldn't beg. She lifted her chin slightly, meeting his stare. "I have a proposition," he continued. 6 weeks, temporary position. You'll live on site. Complete confidentiality required. The firm is investigating a sensitive internal matter, and we need fresh eyes. Live here? Mia's mind raced. She couldn't leave Lena alone that long. Your sister's medical care would transfer to our private facility, Vale said, as if reading her thoughts. Full coverage, effective immediately. Mia's breath caught. How did he know about Lena? But the promise of immediate coverage, no more collection calls, no more choosing between medication and rent. The contract, Vale said, and somehow a folder appeared in his hands. Review it carefully, but decide now. Mia's fingers trembled slightly as she took the folder. The terms were clear, if unusual. 6 weeks, on-site residence required, comprehensive NDAs, and a salary that made her eyes widen. Why me? She asked before she could stop herself. Vale's expression remained unreadable. Let's call it intuition. Mia signed. What choice did she have? The pen felt heavy in her hand as she wrote her name. Welcome to Vale Manor, Miss Hart. Vale's voice was cool, professional. He turned back to the sculpture, dismissing her. Rosa will show you to your quarters. As Mia followed Rosa toward the staff wing, she could feel Vale's presence behind her, heavy as the rain outside. She'd gotten what she wanted, a chance to save Lena. So, why did it feel like she'd just signed away something more than 6 weeks of her life? Rosa's heels clicked against marble as they walked, each step echoing like a clock counting down. The staff wing is this way, she said, her earlier sternness softened slightly. Though I suspect you'll find your position here unconventional. The staff wing was a stark contrast to the mansion's grandeur. Functional, pristine, but deliberately austere. Rosa led Mia through a maze of corridors, pointing out essential locations with military precision. Breakfast service begins at 5, lunch at 11, dinner prep starts at 3. Rosa explained, her voice echoing off the plain walls. Staff meals are taken in shifts, never in guest areas. They passed a line of uniformed maids carrying fresh linens. Each one nodded respectfully to Rosa, while casting curious glances at Mia in her civilian clothes. The West Wing is strictly off-limits without clearance, Rosa continued, gesturing to a heavy wooden door with a keypad. As are Mr. Vale's private quarters and study. The consequences for unauthorized access are severe. The kitchen was industrial-grade stainless steel, humming with activity. A dozen staff members moved in practiced choreography, chopping, stirring, plating with precision. Marcus runs the kitchen. Rosa indicated a tall chef who barely looked up from his work. You'll coordinate with him for any special dietary requirements or schedule changes. They climbed a narrow service staircase to the main floor. The transition was jarring, from utilitarian corridors to museum-worthy opulence. Sunlight streamed through floor-to-ceiling windows, illuminating marble floors and priceless artwork. This is what we protect, Rosa said quietly, noting Mia's wide eyes. Not just the objects, but what they represent. Power, legacy, secrets. They passed a partially open door. Inside, Sebastian Vale stood at a massive desk, reviewing documents. His jacket was off, sleeves rolled to expose forearms corded with muscle. His hands moved with surgical precision as he made notes, and Mia noticed the unexpected calluses on his fingers. marks of work that didn't match his polished exterior. He looked up suddenly, catching her gaze. Mia quickly turned away, but not before seeing something unreadable flash across his face. "The study is absolutely forbidden," Rosa stated firmly, steering Mia along. "Mr. Vale conducts sensitive business there. The consequences of interruption are unpleasant." They continued the tour. Dining rooms, parlors, guest suites, each space more opulent than the last. Rosa explained the cleaning schedules, security protocols, and the complex hierarchy of access levels. "Some guests come for business," Rosa said carefully as they folded linens in a small laundry room. "Others for pleasure. Some leave quickly. Others stay longer than planned. It's not our place to ask why." Mia nodded, processing the weight of unspoken meaning in Rosa's words. As she reached for another stack of sheets, something fell from the hamper, a cream-colored envelope with her name written in elegant script. Below it was an address she didn't recognize. Her hands trembled slightly as she slipped it into her pocket, glancing at Rosa. But the older woman was focused on demonstrating the proper corner fold for fitted sheets. The afternoon passed in a blur of instructions and introductions. Mia's head spun with door codes, schedules, and protocols. By the time dinner preparation began, her feet ached and her mind raced. In the kitchen, she helped plate appetizers while trying to memorize the complex service patterns Rosa had outlined. The envelope seemed to burn in her pocket, but she forced herself to focus on the tasks at hand. "These go to the blue parlor," Marcus instructed, sliding a tray of delicate canapes toward her. "Touch nothing else. Speak to no one. Serve and leave immediately." Mia nodded, carefully lifting the heavy silver tray. As she navigated the service corridor, she could hear muffled voices from the parlor, cultured tones discussing markets and mergers. The envelope weighed on her mind, competing with Rosa's warnings about curiosity and consequences. She entered the parlor silently as trained, keeping her eyes down as she offered hors d'oeuvres to the assembled guests. Their conversations flowed around her like she was invisible, exactly as Rosa had instructed. "The Singapore deal is proceeding as planned," a man was saying, "though there have been complications with the documentation." "Complications can be managed," another voice responded smoothly, "for the right price." Mia's hand trembled slightly as she held out the tray to the last guest. The envelope seemed heavier with each passing moment, its mysteries pressing against her conscience. What secrets did it hold? And who had left it for her to find? Back in the kitchen, she threw herself into the dinner service preparations, trying to lose herself in the routine of polishing silverware and folding napkins. But her thoughts kept returning to the envelope and its unknown contents. "Focus!" Rosa's voice cut through her distraction. "In this house, attention to detail isn't just about presentation, it's about survival." Mia nodded, forcing herself to concentrate on the precise angle of each fork, the exact spacing of each place setting. But the envelope remained a constant presence in her mind, a tangible reminder that she'd stepped into something far more complex than a simple domestic position. As the evening light faded outside the kitchen windows, Mia continued her tasks, hyper-aware of the paper burning a hole in her pocket. Around her, the staff moved with practiced efficiency, preparing for the evening ahead. She tried to mirror their calm competence, but her thoughts kept circling back to those careful letters spelling out her name, that mysterious address, and the weight of secrets pressing in from all sides. The Vale dining room glowed with candlelight, crystal stemware catching the flames in prismatic displays. Mia moved silently around the massive mahogany table, filling water glasses as Sebastian Vale presided over his intimate board dinner. Her new uniform, crisp black and white, helped her blend into the shadows between the sconces. The Asian markets are showing promising indicators, a silver-haired man was saying, his hands trembling slightly as he reached for his wine. Mr. Hargreave, Mia remembered from Rosa's briefing. Sebastian smoothly redirected attention before anyone could notice the spilled drops of red wine. Perhaps we should discuss the European expansion first, Charles. I believe you had some valuable insights there. Mr. Hargreave's grateful glance wasn't lost on Mia. So this was why the contract had mentioned special care requirements. Sebastian was protecting vulnerable board members while maintaining their dignity. Speaking of expansion, a sharp-featured woman cut in. Has anyone heard from Marcus recently? The Singapore office. Let's focus on tonight's agenda. Sebastian interrupted, his tone pleasant, but brooking no argument. The name hung in the air. Marcus Vale, the absent brother whose portrait Mia had noticed in the study. She continued her circuit of the table, observing how Sebastian commanded the space without raising his voice. His presence filled the room, drawing every eye when he spoke. Even in relaxed conversation, he maintained perfect posture, his movements measured and precise. The chef's special course arrived, butter-poached lobster on beds of risotto. Mia helped distribute the plates, careful not to disturb the artistic presentation. The conversation shifted to quarterly projections and shareholder concerns. The media's been asking questions about those construction delays, someone mentioned between bites. Standard procedure, Sebastian replied smoothly. All necessary permits are in order. Mia noticed his left hand tighten fractionally on his fork, the only tell in his perfect composure. She wondered what other subtle signals she was missing in this room full of power players. A young aide appeared silently at Sebastian's elbow, tablet extended. He reviewed it with a slight frown, then handed it back with a nearly imperceptible shake of his head. But Mia caught the flash of concern in his eyes before his mask of calm returned. The Dover project is proceeding exactly as planned, he continued, as if there had been no interruption. Now, about those production numbers. The dinner proceeded with the precision of a well-orchestrated dance. Mia moved through her tasks automatically, mind wandering to the envelope still burning in her pocket. She'd meant to dispose of it, but something had held her back. As the board members filed out after dessert, Sebastian lingered in the dining room. Mia began gathering plates, hyper-aware of his presence. Other staff members drifted in and out, clearing glasses and folding napkins. Miss Hart. His quiet voice stopped her in her tracks. A moment, please. He waited until they were alone, then turned to face her. In the dimmed lights, his expression was unreadable. The envelope you found today, he said simply. Hand it over now, or we can discuss it formally with security in the morning. Mia's cheeks burned. Of course he knew, probably had cameras everywhere. With trembling fingers, she withdrew the envelope and placed it in his outstretched hand. Sebastian opened it, removing a single Polaroid. Mia caught a glimpse of herself with Daniel outside what looked like a courthouse. Below the image, 3 typed words. We remember. She couldn't read Sebastian's expression as he studied the photo. After a moment, he tucked it away in his jacket pocket. You may go, he said quietly. Mia retreated to the servants' quarters, her heart pounding against her ribs. The dormitory was quiet except for distant murmurs from the shared bathroom where other staff prepared for bed. She sat on her narrow cot, hands still shaking slightly. The evening replayed in her mind, Sebastian's careful management of the room, the subtle ways he'd wielded power and protection in equal measure. The flash of something in his eyes when he'd seen the photo. She couldn't shake the feeling that she'd stumbled into currents far deeper than she'd imagined. Through the small window, she could see lights still burning in Sebastian's study. A shadow moved across the glass. Him at his desk, no doubt reviewing whatever concerning information had been on that tablet. The night air carried distant sounds of the city, but here in her tiny room, everything felt contained, controlled, watched. Mia changed into her sleep clothes, methodically hanging her uniform for tomorrow. The routine tasks helped calm her racing thoughts, but questions still circled. Who had left that photo? What did they remember? And why did Sebastian Vale, who commanded empires over dinner, care about a mysterious message to his new housekeeper? She lay in the narrow bed, listening to the old house settle around her. The mattress was surprisingly comfortable, the sheets fresh and crisp. Everything in the Vale mansion was carefully chosen. She was learning. Even the servants' accommodations reflected controlled quality. Through the wall, she could hear another maid softly humming as she prepared for bed. The normalcy of the sound was almost surreal after the tension of the evening. Mia closed her eyes, trying to slow her breathing. But every time she started to relax, she saw Sebastian's face as he looked at that photo. Calm on the surface, but something darker moving in the depths of his eyes. The security wing felt like another world compared to the mansion's warm opulence. Steel grey walls, surveillance cameras, and the steady hum of electronics created an atmosphere that made Mia's skin prickle. She sat in a stark interview room facing two people across a metal table. Margaret Chen, Vale's lead counsel, and James Torres, an external investigator with hard eyes. Please state your full name and relationship to Daniel Pierce. Chen began, recorder blinking red. Amelia Hart. Daniel was my fiancé 2 years ago. Mia's hands twisted in her lap. Ex-fiancé. Through the one-way glass behind her interrogators, she sensed rather than saw movement. Sebastian Vale was watching. The knowledge made her spine stiffen. Tell us about the last time you saw Mr. Pierce, Torres said, spreading photos across the table. Daniel outside various buildings, speaking to men in suits. Mia swallowed hard. 2 years ago, he'd been acting strange for weeks. Then one day I came home and everything was gone. Our savings, my grandmother's jewelry. He left a note saying, "Sorry," and disappeared. Did he ever mention Vale Holdings? Marcus Vale? Any business dealings? No. Mia shook her head. Daniel worked in real estate development. Small properties, nothing like Vale's scale. He never mentioned any connection. Chen's perfectly manicured nail tapped the photo from the envelope. This was taken outside the municipal courthouse. Do you recall that day? I've never been there. Mia leaned closer, studying the image. That's not real. I mean, it's me, but it's edited. Look at the shadows, they're wrong. Torres and Chen exchanged glances. Behind the glass, Sebastian moved closer. Miss Hart, Chen said carefully. Would you be willing to submit to a polygraph? Yes. The word came instantly. I have nothing to hide. I just want to understand what's happening. The questioning continued for another hour. Detailed timelines, names, places. Mia answered everything truthfully, growing increasingly aware that she was caught in something much bigger than a domestic position. By early afternoon, she was back in the main house, helping Rosa inventory the wine cellar. The routine task was almost soothing after the morning's intensity. You did well, Rosa said suddenly, marking off another bottle. They believe you. Before Mia could respond, running footsteps echoed above. A woman in a sleek suit burst into Sebastian's study across the hall, clutching a tablet. Mr. Vale, it's hitting the news now. Someone leaked documents about Marcus and the O5 merger. Sebastian's voice carried clearly. Show me. Mia and Rosa froze, listening to the rapid-fire exchange. Anonymous source claims Vale Holdings absorbed Comptech through insider trading, suggests Marcus Vale orchestrated, board members implicated, your father's involvement. Contact legal. Full audit of all 05 records. I want every document, every email. Sebastian's tone was controlled but razor-sharp. "And get Marcus on the phone." "Sir, there's more. The source threatens weekly releases unless certain conditions are met." A pause. "Increase security protocols. Level 2 containment. No one in or out without clearance." Sebastian appeared in his doorway, gaze finding Mia. "Rosa, Miss Hart stays on grounds. The confidentiality clause is active." "What?" Mia stepped forward. "I can't leave. It's temporary witness protection." Sebastian explained. "Anyone connected to these events is a potential target, including you through Daniel. But my sister, I have to check on her. Her treatments." Something softened briefly in Sebastian's expression. "Provide Rosa with her details. We'll arrange care and security." The next hours passed in a blur of increased security presence and hushed conversations. Mia watched guards position themselves around the property perimeter. Her phone was collected for screening, replaced with a secure veil device. In her small room that evening, Mia pulled up the only personal photo transferred to her new phone. Lena, in her hospital bed, smiling despite the IV lines. The image blurred as tears welled up. The room suddenly felt both like a prison and a fortress. Through her window, she could see guards patrolling with military precision. The same walls that kept her in were keeping threats out. Protection or containment? Both, she realized, running her fingers over Lena's image. A soft knock. Rosa, bringing extra blankets and a sympathetic smile. "Try to rest, dear. Tomorrow will be busy." Mia nodded, but sleep felt impossible. She was trapped in a gilded cage, caught between gratitude for the protection and frustration at her lost freedom. The Vale mansion loomed around her, its luxury now feeling less like privilege and more like beautiful armor. She thought of Sebastian's face when he'd given the security orders. Cold fury carefully contained, but something else too. The same flash of unexpected softness she'd glimpsed when she mentioned Lena. It didn't fit with his reputation as Vale the Immutable. The night deepened. Guards changed shifts below her window. Somewhere in the mansion, Sebastian Vale was likely still working, controlling his empire's response to the crisis. And somewhere out there, someone was orchestrating this whole thing, using her past with Daniel as a small piece in a much larger game. Mia touched the window glass, cool against her fingertips. The city sparkled beyond the Vale grounds, so close yet suddenly inaccessible. She was safe here, she knew that, but safety had come with golden chains. She looked at Lena's photo again, drawing strength from her sister's resilient smile. Whatever was happening, whatever storm she'd stumbled into, she had to stay strong. For Lena, for herself, for the strange new responsibility she seemed to have acquired simply by being in the wrong place at the right time. 2 days after the security lockdown, Mia followed Sebastian through the staff corridors beneath Vale Manor. The basement levels were a maze of utility rooms and storage, lit by industrial fluorescents that cast everything in stark relief. "The regular staff quarters are adequate," Sebastian said, his pace measured as they walked. "But given the circumstances, you need something more private." He stopped at a heavy door, unlocking it with a keycard. Inside was a surprise. Not the storage closet Mia expected, but a modestly furnished apartment. Clean lines, practical comfort, nothing ostentatious. "This is where we house people who need to remain on site discreetly," he explained, handing her a key. "Security monitored, but private." Mia ran her fingers along a simple wooden table, taking in the small kitchen, living area, and separate bedroom. "It's unexpected. The mansion above is for show. This serves a purpose." She turned to face him directly. "Why did you really hire me? That day in the foyer, you broke protocol." "Why?" Sebastian studied her for a long moment, his expression carefully neutral. You said, make it fast. Not please hire me, not a rehearsed speech. Just make it fast. He moved to the window, looking out at the narrow, ground-level view. It was practical, direct. I recognized the look in your eyes. The look of desperation. Mia's voice held an edge. The look of someone who needs a solution, not sympathy. He turned back. I don't rescue people, Miss Hart. I make practical decisions. And keeping me here under guard is practical. Protection isn't pity. His tone was firm, but not unkind. You're a potential witness in a corporate investigation. Your safety is a business necessity. Mia crossed her arms. I don't need saving, Mr. Vale. No, he agreed, surprising her. You need resources and security. I'm providing both, nothing more. The straightforward response deflated her defensive anger somewhat. He wasn't trying to play savior. This was business, clean and simple. Somehow that made it easier to accept. Sebastian checked his phone briefly. The apartment is yours for the duration. The key works on this level only. Standard security protocols still apply for the rest of the house. Mia nodded, appreciating that he set clear boundaries. No false promises, no dramatic gestures, just defined parameters and honest terms. Thank you, she said finally, for explaining, and for... She gestured at the apartment. It's a practical solution. He moved towards the door, then paused. The gala announcement will be made this evening. You'll be needed for additional preparation shifts. The gala? In the middle of all this? Especially in the middle of all this. His jaw tightened slightly. Vale Holdings needs to project stability. The event will proceed as planned, with enhanced security. Who's attending? Board members, major shareholders, key industry figures. His expression darkened slightly, including Ethan Cole. Mia had seen Cole's name in business news. Ambitious, media-savvy, hungry for Vale's market share. Is that wise, given the circumstances? It's necessary. His absence would spark more speculation than his presence. Sebastian's phone buzzed again. Rosa will brief you on the additional duties. The event is in 5 days. He left with the same measured stride, leaving Mia to explore her new space. The apartment was a stark contrast to the opulent mansion above, practical where the main house was ornate, comfortable rather than impressive. Like the man himself, she realized, the public face of wealth and power concealing something more purposeful underneath. She was unpacking her few belongings when Rosa appeared with a tablet. The gala announcement just went live, she said, showing Mia the press release. We'll need all hands for preparation. The guest list is extensive. Mia scanned the details. Hundreds of attendees, elaborate security protocols, careful wording about celebrating Vale Holdings' continued market leadership. A show of force dressed as a party. There's something else, Rosa added, scrolling to an internal memo. Marcus Vale is returning to town. He'll be here in 2 days. The name hung in the air. Sebastian's estranged brother, mentioned in whispers during that first board dinner. His return now, with the company under pressure, felt significant. Rosa began outlining the preparation schedule. Extra cleaning shifts, inventory checks, security coordination. Mia listened, but part of her mind stayed on that earlier conversation with Sebastian. He saw her clearly, not as someone to rescue, but as someone who needed practical solutions. The distinction mattered. The basement apartment felt like a physical representation of that understanding. No pretense, no attempted impression, just clean lines and clear purpose. She could work with that. The next hours blurred into preparation activity. Mia threw herself into the tasks, grateful for the distraction. Guest lists were scrutinized, seating arrangements debated, security measures refined. Through it all, she caught glimpses of Sebastian moving through the house, always controlled, always watching, coordinating his company's public response while private investigations continued behind the scenes. Their brief conversation had shifted something between them, not dramatically but notably. He'd shown her the reality behind the facade, trusted her with that truth, and she'd understood what he offered. Not rescue, but resources. Not pity, but pragmatism. The gala loomed ahead. 5 days of preparation for a night that would either stabilize Vale Holdings or expose new vulnerabilities. Ethan Cole would attend, bringing his ambitions and agenda. Marcus Vale would return, carrying whatever history had driven him away in the first place. And Mia would watch it all from the inside now, no longer just staff, but something more complicated. Witness, asset, keeper of keys to hidden rooms. She had seen beneath the surface of Vale Manor, literally and figuratively. The question was what she would do with that knowledge. Rosa's hands moved with practiced efficiency as she polished the silver, but her eyes held a distant look. The Vale name has weathered storms before, she said quietly, arranging spoons in neat rows. This isn't the first time whispers have tried to shake these walls. Mia paused in her task of folding napkins. The morning sun streamed through the kitchen windows, casting long shadows across the polished counters. What happened the last time? 3 years ago. Different scandal, same vultures circling. Rosa's cloth moved in steady circles over the silver. A board member tried to force Sebastian out, claimed financial misconduct. She shook her head. The truth came out eventually, but not before good people got caught in the crossfire. What happened to them? Some left, some stayed loyal. The ones who kept their heads down survived. Rosa's eyes met Mia's directly. Remember that, child. When the storms come, stay low. Don't make yourself a target. The warning settled heavily in Mia's stomach as she continued her morning duties. The mansion hummed with pre-gala energy. Staff rushing through corridors, security teams doing sweeps, delivery trucks arriving with supplies. By midday, she'd retreated to the staff break room for a quick lunch. Her phone buzzed, an unknown number, but the message made her blood run cold. Everything comes due tomorrow night. Watch your back at the gala. Daniel. Her fingers trembled as she typed back, "Stop contacting me." Then she deleted both messages, her appetite gone. The warning echoed in her head. Was it a threat or a genuine warning? Either way, telling someone would only complicate things further. The afternoon stretched on, each hour bringing new tasks and tensions. Security briefings, inventory checks, endless lists to verify. By late afternoon, Mia needed air. She slipped out to the terrace, letting the cool breeze calm her nerves. Escaping the chaos. She startled at Sebastian's voice. He stood in the doorway, holding 2 thermoses. "Just needed a moment," she admitted. He handed her one of the thermoses. "Coffee. Rosa's special blend." "Thank you." The warmth seeped into her hands as she took a sip. Sebastian moved to lean against the terrace railing, his usual rigid posture softening slightly. "I used to hide out here as a child," he said quietly. "When things got complicated inside." Mia noticed him absently rubbing his left wrist. In the fading light, she caught a glimpse of an old scar, thin and precise, like a surgical mark. "Broke it climbing down these walls once," he explained, following her gaze, "trying to run away after." He paused, choosing his words carefully. "After learning some hard truths about family loyalty." The admission hung in the air between them, not a plea for sympathy, but a rare moment of shared vulnerability. Mia recognized the cost of that trust. "Did you make it? When you ran?" "No." His smile held no humor. "Learned another lesson that day. Sometimes the only way out is through." They stood in companionable silence until Rosa appeared in the doorway. "Miss Hutt, we need you for the uniform fitting." The evening dissolved into final preparations. Mia stood still as the seamstress adjusted her black uniform. Crisp lines, practical cut, nothing to draw attention. The earpiece they gave her was nearly invisible. "Testing, testing." The security chief's voice crackled in her ear. "Nod if you can hear me clearly." She nodded, watching other staff members receive similar equipment. The dress rehearsal ran like clockwork, practiced movements through the grand ballroom, synchronized service patterns, security protocols reviewed again and again. "Remember," the chief instructed, "maintain radio silence unless absolutely necessary. Channel 1 for emergencies only, Channel 2 for logistics." Mia practiced the movements until they became muscle memory. Which entrances to watch, which guests to track, how to move efficiently through crowds while staying alert. Her uniform fit perfectly now, allowing full range of motion while maintaining the proper professional appearance. Rosa supervised it all with sharp eyes, adjusting positions and correcting timing. "Smoothness is safety," she reminded them. "No sudden movements, no rushed steps. Grace under pressure keeps everyone calm." The rehearsal stretched late into the evening. Staff practiced emergency protocols, how to evacuate VIPs, secure exits, maintain order if things went wrong. Mia's feet ached, but she pushed through, determined to master every detail. Finally, Rosa called an end to practice. "Get some rest," she ordered. "Tomorrow will test us all." As staff dispersed, Mia caught Sebastian watching from his study doorway. Their eyes met briefly. His held the same guarded vulnerability she'd glimpsed on the terrace. Then he nodded once and disappeared inside, leaving her to wonder about trust, truth, and what tomorrow would bring. In her basement apartment, she laid out her uniform for morning, checked her earpiece one final time, and tried to quiet her racing thoughts. Daniel's text nagged at her conscience. Should she have reported it? But Rosa's warning rang clearer. "Keep your head down. Stay out of the crossfire." Sleep proved elusive. She could hear the mansion settling above her. Last-minute deliveries, security patrols, the quiet efficiency of a household preparing for battle disguised as celebration. Tomorrow would test them all, Rosa had said. Mia wondered if she was ready for whatever that test might be. The gala transformed Vale Manor into a glittering fortress. Crystal chandeliers cast diamonds of light across marble floors, while security teams moved like shadows through the crowd. Mia adjusted her earpiece, staying close to the walls as she carried champagne trays through the sea of designer gowns and custom tuxedos. "West entrance clear," crackled a voice in her ear. "VIP arrival in 5. Camera flashes exploded outside as limousines discharged their cargo of investors, board members, and media elite. Mia recognized faces from financial magazines, tech moguls, venture capitalists, old money mixing with new. The air felt charged with performance and pretense. Sebastian commanded the room from a raised platform, his tailored black suit a stark contrast to the opulent backdrop. Vale Holdings stands for innovation and integrity. He addressed the crowd. Our commitment to ethical business practices remains unwavering. Ethan Cole watched from near the bar, swirling his scotch with calculated indifference. His smile never reached his eyes. "Service check, East Wing," Rosa's voice directed through the earpiece. Mia navigated between clusters of guests, collecting empty glasses. Fragments of conversations floated past. Marcus Vale spotted at the airport. Share prices holding steady despite rumors. Confidentiality agreements can't hold forever. The evening progressed like a choreographed dance. Dinner service ran smoothly, 7 courses of artistic precision delivered with military timing. Mia kept her movements efficient, professional, invisible. But she noticed things. The journalist who kept checking his phone, the whispered conversations in corners, the way Sebastian's jaw tightened whenever Ethan Cole approached board members. "Missing device reported in the south dining room," security announced in her ear. "All staff maintain positions." The journalist was gesturing angrily now, patting his pockets. "My phone, it was right here." Mia continued clearing plates, but her pulse quickened. Something felt wrong. The air in the room shifted from celebration to tension. Sebastian's assistant appeared at his shoulder, whispering urgently. His expression remained neutral, but Mia saw his fingers curl into a fist at his side. "Code red," crackled her earpiece. "Information breach confirmed. Implement containment protocols." The first phones started buzzing. Guests pulled out devices, faces illuminated by breaking news alerts. The whispers grew louder. Vale Holdings accused of decades-long fraud. Leaked documents suggest systematic cover-up. Marcus Vale implicated in... Ethan Cole hadn't moved from his spot by the bar, but his smile had widened. He raised his glass in a mock toast when Sebastian's gaze found him. Security teams materialized from the shadows, herding guests toward exits with practiced efficiency. "Ladies and gentlemen, we apologize for the interruption. Please proceed to the main entrance." Mia helped guide people out, maintaining calm professionalism even as her stomach churned. Through the chaos, she glimpsed Sebastian in his study, surrounded by crisis managers and legal counsel. "Ma'am," a security officer appeared at her elbow. "Come with us, please." They led her to the security wing, where other staff members were being questioned. The head of security held up an evidence bag containing a flash drive. "Found in your assigned locker," he stated. "Preliminary scan shows it contains the leaked files. Care to explain?" Mia's blood ran cold. "That's not mine. I've never seen it before." "Your fingerprints are on it." "That's impossible." The door opened. Sebastian entered, his face a mask of controlled fury. He studied her for a long moment, and Mia saw the war behind his eyes, wanting to trust but trained by experience to suspect betrayal. "Where were you during the phone theft?" the security chief asked. "Clearing tables in the main dining room. Check the cameras." "Convenient timing," another officer noted. "Phone goes missing, files leak, and this turns up in your locker." Mia met Sebastian's gaze. "I didn't do this. Someone's setting me up." His expression remained unreadable. "Take her to holding," he ordered. "Full investigation protocol." As they led her away, Mia caught a glimpse of the mansion's front drive through a window. Reporters had gathered like vultures, camera lights piercing the darkness. On a TV screen in the security office, headlines scrolled, "Vale Holdings Scandal Rocks Financial World." Leaked documents reveal decades of deception. Marcus Vale named in corporate cover-up. They secured her in a small room, comfortable but clearly designed for detention. Through the walls, she could hear phones ringing, urgent footsteps, the machinery of crisis management grinding into action. In her mind, Daniel's warning text flashed again. "Everything comes due." She should have reported it, should have trusted her instincts about the setup. Now she sat trapped, framed, while somewhere Ethan Cole celebrated his victory and real conspirators walked free. Sebastian appeared in the doorway one last time. His anger had hardened into something colder, more dangerous. "If you're innocent," he said quietly, "we'll find proof. If not..." He left the threat unspoken. The door locked behind him with a final click. Mia sank onto the room's single chair, mind racing. Someone had orchestrated this perfectly. The phone, the files, the flash drive. They'd used her presence to strike at Sebastian, counting on his history of betrayal to cloud his judgment. Outside, camera flashes continued to strobe against the windows like silent lightning. The mansion hummed with crisis energy, security sweeps, legal consultations, damage control in motion. And somewhere in that chaos, the real traitors moved freely, while Mia sat caught in their web of deception. She touched her wrist where Sebastian's scar had been visible that afternoon on the terrace. Trust broken by family, he'd said. Now history repeated itself, with Mia as an unwitting player in someone else's game of revenge. Dawn crept over Vale Manor, painting shadows across the security wing where Mia sat in a stark interview room. Her second round of questioning had started at 5 a.m., more aggressive than before. A detective paced while 2 officers watched from corners. "Let's go through this again," the detective said, tapping a manila folder. "You accessed the staff locker room at what time?" 7:15, to change for service." Mia's voice was hoarse from repeating herself. "I didn't put anything in that locker except my clothes." "Yet your fingerprints were found on a drive containing confidential documents that went public during the gala. Quite a coincidence." "Those prints were planted. I've never touched that drive." The detective leaned forward. "Ms. Hart, we have reports of calls between you and Daniel Pierce 2 years ago before he disappeared. I've told you everything about Daniel. And now Vale Holdings faces its biggest scandal in decades, with you at the center." A knock interrupted them. Sebastian entered, his suit immaculate despite the early hour. Dark circles under his eyes betrayed a sleepless night. "That's enough for now," he said quietly. The authority in his voice cleared the room. When they were alone, Sebastian placed a tablet on the table. Headlines screamed about internal collusion and betrayal at Vale. Share prices were in freefall. "The board wants you suspended," he said. "They're meeting now to discuss damage control." Mia's heart sank. "I understand. I'll pack—" "No." Sebastian's tone was firm. "You'll stay here, under heightened security. If someone framed you, I want them where I can watch them." "The board won't like that. The board doesn't run my household." His jaw tightened. "But your movements will be restricted, for your protection and ours." Before Mia could respond, Sebastian's phone buzzed. His expression darkened as he read the message. Legal found something in the old records. Marcus settlement payments to shell companies, dating back years. He ran a hand through his hair. "This goes deeper than we thought." As if summoned by his name, voices rose from the foyer. Marcus Vale had arrived. Sebastian led Mia to an observation room overlooking the main hall. Through one-way glass, they watched Marcus stride in, designer suit and practiced smile in place. He moved like he owned the space, greeting staff who remembered him from before. "Welcome home, brother." Sebastian's voice could have frozen wine. Marcus's smile didn't waver. "Terrible business, this scandal. The board called me in for damage control." He glanced around the foyer. "Place hasn't changed much. Still keeping father's old Rodin?" "You're here as a consultant only," Sebastian said. "Nothing more." "Of course." Marcus straightened his cuffs. "Though as family I have certain interests to protect. The shareholders might appreciate a familiar face during this transition." The implication hung heavy. Marcus was positioning himself, using the crisis to edge toward control. "The investigation is ongoing," Sebastian said. "We'll discuss your role later." Marcus's eyes gleamed. "Always so careful, little brother. But sometimes careful isn't enough. Sometimes the past demands attention." He swept past them toward the boardroom, leaving tension in his wake. Sebastian's phone buzzed again. The board meeting was starting. He turned to Mia. "Stay in your quarters. Security will bring meals." "Don't talk to anyone without clearance." "Sebastian." Mia caught his arm. "I didn't do this. I wouldn't." He studied her face. "I know. That's why you're still here." After he left, security escorted Mia to her basement apartment. The space felt smaller now, more confining. She paced, checking her phone obsessively for news updates. A text from Lena finally broke through. "Call me. Now." Mia's hands shook as she dialed. Lena answered on the first ring, voice trembling. "Someone called about the house," Lena said. "They knew things, Mia, about my medical records, about Daniel. They said we'd lose everything unless you make the right choice." Mia sank onto her bed, tears starting. "When?" "This morning. They knew where I was staying, what medications I'm on. They said to tell you that time is running out." "I'll fix this," Mia promised, though her voice cracked. "Just stay safe. Don't answer unknown calls." After hanging up, Mia curled into herself, finally letting the tears flow freely. Someone was systematically destroying her life, reaching past Vale Manor's walls to threaten what she loved most. And she was trapped here, unable to protect her sister, while Marcus Vale played power games and Sebastian fought his board. Through her window, she could see feet passing on the garden path above, security patrols, journalists trying to peek through gators, staff hurrying with crisis tasks. The manor hummed with tension, while in her underground room, Mia wept for her sister and wondered how many more threats would emerge from the shadows. Her phone lit up with another headline: Vale Holdings faces leadership challenge. The accompanying photo showed Marcus Vale looking presidential, promising restoration of family values. The pieces were falling into place. Someone had orchestrated this perfectly, using Mia as a convenient scapegoat, while larger machinations unfolded. She wiped her eyes, staring at the ceiling. Somewhere above, Sebastian was fighting for his company, while his brother circled like a shark. And Mia sat in her gilded cage, powerless to help anyone. Not Sebastian, not Lena, not herself. The morning light grew stronger, but in her basement sanctuary, Mia remained in shadow, listening to the sounds of crisis echo through Vale Manor's halls. 3 days after Marcus's arrival, Vale Manor's tension had shifted from explosive to suffocating. Mia stood in Sebastian's private study, watching him pace while his investigator, James Chen, arranged files on the mahogany desk. "The charitable fund is already established," Sebastian said, stopping at the window. "Lena's medical expenses would be covered within 48 hours of your agreement." Mia's fingers traced the edge of a leather chair. "And in exchange, I become Vale Holdings' official witness. You'd testify about Daniel, the envelope, the threats, everything." Chen's voice was gentle but firm. "Full disclosure, under oath if necessary." "I'd be a pawn." The word tasted bitter. Sebastian turned from the window. "You'd be protected. The fund is legitimate, separate from Vale Holdings. No strings beyond honest testimony." Mia thought of Lena's voice on the phone, frightened and trying to hide it. Her sister's care wasn't negotiable. "I'll do it." Chen produced documents while Sebastian outlined the schedule. Media training, prepared statements, practice interviews. His efficiency should have been cold, but Mia caught the way his hands lingered when passing her the pen, how his eyes sought permission before each step. They began that afternoon. Hours of rehearsal in Sebastian's private conference room, drilling responses until Mia's voice grew hoarse. Chen played aggressive reporter while Sebastian observed, occasionally stepping in to adjust the approach. "Remember," Sebastian said during a break, "you're not defending yourself. You're establishing facts." Mia nodded, sipping water. "Facts don't feel very protecting right now." "No." His hand brushed her shoulder. "But they're all we have." The next 2 days blurred into endless preparation. Mia learned to face cameras without flinching, to deflect hostile questions with calm precision. Sebastian attended every session, his presence both steadying and distracting. On the 3rd evening, they were running final rehearsals in the West Wing. Mia had just finished a particularly grueling mock interview when Chen called it done for the day. "Take the service corridor," Sebastian told her. "Avoid the main halls. Press has been aggressive." Mia nodded, exhausted. The service passage was dimly lit, staff long gone for the night. She was halfway to her quarters when a flash burst in her face. "Ms. Hart, comment on Daniel Pierce's allegations?" A man emerged from an alcove, camera raised. Mia stumbled back, blinded by another flash. "Is it true you helped Pierce access Vale records? Did you know about the fraud?" Suddenly Sebastian was there, moving between them with fluid grace. His broad shoulders blocked the photographer completely. "This is private property," Sebastian said, voice lethal quiet. "Security will escort you out." The photographer kept shooting. "The public has questions, Mr. Vale. Your witness is under my protection." Sebastian's arm curved around Mia, shielding her from the flashes. The contact sent electricity through her skin. Security arrived, removing the photographer. Sebastian didn't step away. "Are you all right?" His breath stirred her hair. Mia turned within the circle of his arm. "Yes, The words died as their eyes met. The corridor felt too small, too charged. Sebastian's hand slid to her waist. "Mia." Her name was a question. She answered by rising on her toes, pressing her lips to his. For a heartbeat, he remained still, then pulled her closer with a sound like surrender. The kiss deepened, desperate and tender. Mia's fingers tangled in his shirt while his hands traced her spine. When they broke apart, both breathing hard, the air crackled between them. "Not here," Sebastian murmured. They made it to his private suite in a haze of touches. Inside, Mia pushed him against the door. "My terms," she said. "Equal partners or nothing." His eyes darkened. "Show me." She did. Every touch was a negotiation, every kiss a dialogue. When he tried to take control, she held him back until he yielded. When she hesitated, he waited, patient and burning. They learned each other slowly, then all at once. Sebastian's composure cracked under her hands, revealing the man beneath the power. Mia discovered strength in vulnerability, in demanding what she needed. The first time he said her name like a prayer, she felt invincible. When she finally let him take charge, it was choice rather than surrender. They fell together and apart, equal in passion and trust. Dawn found them tangled in his sheets, the world reduced to skin and breath. Mia traced the scar he'd shown her on the terrace, understanding now why he'd shared that piece of himself. "This changes things," she said softly. Sebastian's fingers drew patterns on her shoulder. "Yes." The board. "Will object." He pressed a kiss to her temple. "Let them." Mia sat up, sheet pooling at her waist. "I'm still your witness. This could compromise everything." It could. Sebastian followed, wrapping his arms around her from behind. Or it could prove that truth matters more than appearance. They dressed slowly, reluctant to break the intimacy. At his door, Sebastian caught her hand. "Whatever comes next," he said, "we face it together." Mia squeezed his fingers, then let go. They had crossed a line that couldn't be uncrossed. As she walked to her quarters, she felt the weight of it, not regret, but recognition that their private choices would have public consequences. The morning sun painted Vale Manor gold, oblivious to the secrets and stakes within its walls. In her room, Mia touched her lips, still sensitive from his kisses, and knew that everything had changed. The witness and the CEO had become something more, something both wonderful and dangerous. She changed for another day of preparation, knowing that each practice interview would now carry new meaning. They would have to be careful, professional, focused on facts rather than feelings. But the truth of them remained, written in every shared glance and lingering touch. A week after their first night together, Mia watched Sebastian's world crumble piece by piece. The morning papers splashed Ethan Cole's latest attack across their front pages. Vale Holdings, empire built on lies. Sebastian stood at his office window, shoulders rigid as he read the filing. Cole's pushing for a shareholder vote to investigate leadership. Can they do that? Mia asked from the doorway. With enough support. He tossed the papers aside. Marcus is helping them build it. As if summoned by his name, Sebastian's phone lit up with breaking news. Marcus had given an exclusive interview, revealing their father's involvement in a decades-old property scandal. The story painted a damning picture of corruption reaching back generations. He's systematically destroying everything, Sebastian said, voice tight with fury. Using our own history as ammunition. Mia moved to his side, close, but not touching. They maintained professional distance during business hours. Your father's actions aren't yours. The board won't see it that way. Legacy matters in this world. A knock interrupted them. Thompson, head of security, entered with a troubled expression. Sir, we have a situation. Rosa's missing. Sebastian went still. What? She didn't report for morning duties. Her car was found abandoned on Route 7. Signs of forced entry, broken window, struggle marks. The color drained from Sebastian's face. When? Sometime after midnight. Local police haven't been notified yet. Keep it that way, Sebastian ordered. I want our team on this first, quietly. After Thompson left, Mia grabbed Sebastian's arm. Are you crazy? We need to call the police. I can't trust them. He ran a hand through his hair. Someone inside Vale is feeding information to Cole. If Rosa's disappearance goes public now, it could be used against you. Mia finished. But Sebastian, she could be in danger. Which is why I'm handling it personally. He pulled out his phone, dialing a private number. I have resources the police don't. Over the next hours, Sebastian deployed a shadow network of contacts, former military, private investigators, discreet professionals who operated in grey areas. Mia watched him work, impressed despite her worry. This was a different side of him, not the polished CEO, but a man who could command loyalty in darkness. The timeline doesn't make sense, Mia said later, pacing his office. Why take Rosa now? Because she knows something. Sebastian's fingers flew over his keyboard. Rosa's been with the family for 30 years. She would have seen... He trailed off, distracted by an urgent email. Mia used his absorption to slip away to the staff wing. Rosa's office was locked, but Mia had the spare key, a trust earned through weeks of working closely together. The office was neat, as always, everything in its place. Mia sat at Rosa's desk, trying to think like the shrewd housekeeper. Rosa was methodical, traditional. She would have kept records. The bottom drawer stuck slightly when pulled, not locked, but resistant. Mia worked it open carefully. Inside, beneath stacks of staff schedules and inventory lists, she found an old leather ledger. Her hands shook as she opened it. The pages contained careful notes in Rosa's precise handwriting. Dates, amounts, account numbers. But what made Mia's breath catch were the names, Marcus Vale and Ethan Cole, linked through a series of offshore transactions dating back months. Oh, Rosa, Mia whispered. You knew. The evidence was clear. Marcus had been feeding Cole information while simultaneously accepting payments through shell companies. Rosa had documented it all, probably waiting for the right moment to reveal the truth. Mia photographed the relevant pages with her phone, then replaced the ledger exactly as she'd found it. When she returned to Sebastian's office, he was on another call. Sweep every camera feed within 20 miles, he was saying. I don't care what it costs. Mia waited until he hung up. I found something. She showed him the photos. Sebastian's expression hardened as he scrolled through them. "This is why they took her," he said. She had proof of their collaboration. "We have to tell someone." "Not yet." Sebastian's eyes were fierce. "If they know we found this, Rosa could pay the price. We need to find her first." Mia wanted to argue, but the raw fear in his voice stopped her. This wasn't just about protecting the company anymore. Rosa was family to him. "Let me help," she said instead. Sebastian looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "Stay close. When this breaks, it's going to be explosive." They worked through the afternoon, Sebastian coordinating his search teams, while Mia analyzed Rosa's notes for any clues to where she might have been taken. The ledger revealed a complex web of betrayal. Marcus and Ethan had been planning this coup for over a year. As evening fell, Sebastian's phone buzzed with another alert. His jaw clenched as he read it. "Cole's people are hinting at a major announcement tomorrow," he said. "They must think Rosa won't be found in time to stop whatever they're planning." Mia touched his shoulder, feeling the tension there. "We'll find her." He covered her hand with his, a rare display of vulnerability. "I can't lose anyone else to this family's secrets." The weight of everything, their relationship, the scandal, Rosa's disappearance, the proof of Marcus's betrayal, hung heavy in the darkening office. They had stumbled into something bigger than corporate politics, something that went to the heart of the Vale legacy. The ledger sat between them on the desk, its damning contents threatening to reshape everything. Someone in Sebastian's inner circle had helped orchestrate this attack on his family. Now Rosa was paying the price for discovering the truth. Sebastian's private security team gathered in an unmarked office 2 blocks from Vale Manor. Maps and surveillance photos covered the walls. Mia studied the blueprint of a modernist villa perched on the coastline, the safe house where Rosa was being held. "Our intel confirms 2 guards," the head of security said. "Minimal but professional. They're keeping her isolated until Cole can arrange permanent containment." Mia's stomach turned at the clinical description. Rosa wasn't cargo to be contained. She was family. "The property has 3 entry points." Sebastian traced the routes with his finger. "Main gate, service entrance, and a cliffside terrace. Security systems are top tier, but we have override codes thanks to our source inside Cole's organization." "The service entrance," Mia said suddenly. Everyone turned to look at her. "It's like the back corridors at Vale Manor. Staff routes are always the least monitored. Rosa taught me that." Sebastian nodded slowly. "You've learned our household patterns. That knowledge could be valuable. I'm coming with you." "Absolutely not. You need someone who thinks like household staff, someone who can move through service areas without drawing attention." Mia met his gaze steadily. "You taught me the routes yourself." The muscle in Sebastian's jaw worked as he weighed the risks. Finally, he gave a sharp nod. "You stay with the rear team. At the first sign of trouble, you retreat." They moved at midnight, 3 black SUVs, no markings. Mia wore tactical gear that felt alien against her skin, but her hands were steady. Sebastian watched her from the front seat, his expression unreadable. The villa rose from the cliffs like a modernist fortress, all glass and sharp angles. Security lights swept the grounds in steady patterns. 2 guards patrolled the perimeter with military precision. "Remember," Sebastian's voice was low in their earpieces. "Quick and clean. No casualties unless absolutely necessary." They split into teams. Sebastian led the main assault through the front, while Mia and 2 others circled to the service entrance. Her heart hammered, but her movements were sure as she traced the path she'd memorized from the blueprints. The first guard went down silently, caught in a sleeper hold by one of Sebastian's men. Mia used Rosa's master key techniques to defeat the electronic lock. looking for wear patterns, testing pressure points. The door clicked open. Inside, service corridors branched like arteries through the house. Mia moved on instinct, following the logic of household flow. Kitchen, laundry, storage, there. A reinforced door with fresh scratches on the frame. Sebastian's team created a distraction up front. When the second guard ran to investigate, Mia's group slipped past. The lock yielded to their tech, and there was Rosa, bound but alive, her eyes fierce with defiance. "Took you long enough," Rosa said as they cut her restraints. Shouts erupted from above. The rescue window was closing. They hustled Rosa through the service corridor, Mia leading the way through the maze-like layout. A guard appeared at the intersection. Mia reacted instantly, shoving a cleaning cart into his path. The collision bought them precious seconds. They emerged into the cool night air just as Sebastian's team completed their sweep. The extraction vehicles were waiting, engines running. Mia helped Rosa into the middle SUV, then climbed in beside her. Sebastian appeared last, face tight with controlled violence. "Are you hurt?" he asked Rosa. "Nothing that won't heal." Rosa's voice was hoarse but steady. "But Sebastian, there's something you need to know about Daniel Pierce." The SUVs wound through back roads as Rosa explained. She'd discovered financial records showing a single payment, 6 figures, routed through shell companies, from Marcus to Daniel's consulting firm. The timing matched the start of the smear campaign. Daniel was hired to be their inside man. Mia realized. He knew enough about my past to make me look guilty. Marcus needed a way to plant evidence. Sebastian said grimly, "Using your ex-fiancé gave them perfect deniability." By dawn, they had Rosa safely hidden in a secure location. Sebastian made the call he'd been dreading. To the police. They couldn't handle this vigilante style anymore. It had to be official. The media exploded with news of Rosa's rescue and the emerging evidence of corporate espionage. Vale Holdings stock took an immediate hit. The board convened an emergency session. "The shareholders are demanding action," the lead director said. "We need you to step back temporarily, Sebastian, just until this is resolved." "You mean surrender to Marcus's play?" Sebastian's voice was ice. "Take a leave of absence. Focus on clearing these allegations. Let the interim leadership handle day-to-day operations." Mia watched the battle play out across Sebastian's face, pride warring with pragmatism. He'd fought so hard to protect his family's legacy. Now that same legacy was being used to force him out. "One condition," he said finally. "I maintain full access to company records for my personal investigation." The director nodded tightly. "Agreed. We'll announce your temporary departure this afternoon." Later, in his private office, Sebastian stood at the window watching the city lights emerge. Mia approached quietly, noting the tension in his shoulders. "You're doing the right thing," she said. "Sometimes stepping back isn't surrender, it's strategic." Marcus thinks he's won. Sebastian's reflection was hard in the glass. "Let him think that. While the board plays politics, we'll follow the money. Every transaction, every shell company, every connection to Cole's organization. We'll unravel it all." Mia slipped her hand into his. Together they watched night claim the city, knowing that somewhere out there, Marcus and Ethan were celebrating what they thought was victory. But they didn't understand what Sebastian and Mia had learned through Rosa's rescue, that real power wasn't in boardrooms or bank accounts. It was in the quiet strength of people who refused to break, who fought back not with violence but with truth. And they had only just begun to fight. 3 days after Sebastian's step back, the morning papers splashed Daniel Pierce's face across their front pages. The headline read, "Vale Whistleblowers Ex-Fiancé Faces Fraud Charges." Mia stared at the newsstand through the car window, her stomach churning. The article detailed Daniel's pending indictment in Nevada, securities fraud, wire transfers, the works. It painted him as a career con man, and by association cast doubt on her credibility. "Don't read it," Sebastian advised from beside her, but Mia was already scanning the text on her phone. "They're saying I must have known about his illegal activities." Her voice cracked. "That I'm either complicit or too stupid to notice." The car crawled through morning traffic toward the courthouse, where Mia was due to give her official statement. Sebastian's temporary removal from Vale Holdings had only intensified media interest in the case. Her phone buzzed with an alert. More leaked emails. These ones appeared to show correspondence between her and Daniel from 6 months ago, discussing Vale Holdings' vulnerabilities. The timestamps, the tone, it all looked real. "These are fake," Mia whispered. "I haven't spoken to him in years." "Marcus's people are good at forgeries," Sebastian said grimly. "They're trying to destroy your credibility before you can testify." They were 3 blocks from the courthouse when police lights flashed behind them. Sebastian's driver pulled over, confused. They had diplomatic plates. "Ms. Hart." A stern-faced officer appeared at her window. "Step out of the vehicle, please." What followed was a blur of humiliation. They cuffed her right there on the street, reading charges of conspiracy and corporate espionage. Photographers materialized from nowhere, capturing her shame in high definition. The precinct was cold and impersonal. They took her fingerprints, her photo, catalogued her like a criminal. Through the processing window, she glimpsed Sebastian on the phone, his expression thunderous as he worked to secure her release. 3 hours later, she emerged on bail. Sebastian stood on the courthouse steps, maintaining a careful professional distance as cameras clicked. His PR team had advised against any display of personal support. It would only feed speculation about their relationship. "I'm sorry," he said later that evening, once they were safely behind the walls of Vale Manor. They sat in his private study, the lights low, sharing a bottle of whiskey. "For what?" Mia asked. "You didn't do this." "No, but my past made it possible." Sebastian's fingers tightened around his glass. "There's something you need to know." He rose and walked to the window, his silhouette stark against the city lights. "When I was 17, there was an accident at one of our development sites. A worker died, a father of 3. The company was liable." Mia watched him struggle with the memory. "My father, he used creative accounting to protect the company. Moved money through shell corporations, buried the settlement in subsidiary reports. It wasn't illegal exactly, but it set a precedent." Sebastian turned to face her. "When I took over, I maintained those structures, not for accidents, we're fully insured now, but for other things. Discretionary funds, private settlements, ways to solve problems without public scrutiny." "That's what Marcus found?" Mia asked softly. "He found the framework my father built, and I preserved. Now he's using it. Against me, claiming it proves systemic corruption." Sebastian's laugh was bitter. "The irony is, I kept those channels open to protect people, to help without creating media circuses, like with Lena's medical fund." Mia absorbed this, understanding flooding in. Sebastian wasn't just fighting for his company. He was wrestling with his own complicity in a system built on necessary secrets. "The board knows most of it," he continued. "They trust me because I've always been transparent with them about why these structures exist, but they're also terrified because if Marcus exposes everything, the whole house of cards falls," Mia finished. "And every person we've helped privately becomes a public target." Sebastian returned to his chair, exhausted. "That's why this isn't just about corporate control. Marcus and Ethan don't care who gets hurt in the crossfire." Mia reached across and took his hand. The gesture was simple, but laden with meaning. She understood now why he carried this weight alone for so long. "I'm not running," she said firmly. "They can drag my name through every paper in the country, but I won't back down. We'll expose them together." Sebastian's fingers tightened around hers. "They'll come at you harder now. Today was just the beginning. Let them come." Mia's voice was steel. "I'd rather face them standing than live running." He studied her face in the dim light, seeing the same determination that had first caught his attention that rainy morning in the foyer. "We'll need to move fast. Marcus and Ethan think they've scored a victory with your arrest, but they've made a mistake." "What's that?" "They've shown their hand. Those forged emails. They're desperate, and desperate people make mistakes." Mia nodded, her mind already working through the implications. They had evidence of Marcus's payments to Daniel, Rosa's testimony about her abduction, and now these clumsy forgeries. The truth was there, hidden in the details they'd tried to bury. Outside, the city hummed with nighttime energy, unaware of the battle being waged in boardrooms and back channels. Inside the study, two people who had every reason to retreat instead chose to stand their ground, bound together by truth and trust in equal measure. 4 days felt like an eternity. Mia straightened her blazer, a conservative navy piece Sebastian had ordered for her testimony, and tried to steady her breathing. The courthouse's marble halls amplified every footstep, every whispered conversation. "Remember," Sebastian murmured beside her. "Just tell the truth. They can't twist what's real." The grand jury room was smaller than she'd imagined. 12 faces studied her as she took the oath, their expressions carefully neutral. Behind the jury box, she spotted Ethan Cole's legal team, sharks in tailored suits, and Marcus Vale, wearing a smile that didn't reach his eyes. "Please state your name for the record." The prosecutor began. "Amelia Hart." "Ms. Hart, can you describe your relationship with Daniel Pierce?" Mia's voice remained steady. "We were engaged 2 years ago. He left after stealing money from our joint account, funds meant for my sister's medical care." "And your current employment at Vale Holdings?" "I was hired as domestic staff. The position included a confidentiality agreement due to ongoing internal investigations." The questioning continued for hours. Mia detailed everything: the threatening messages, the planted flash drive, Rosa's kidnapping. When shown the forged emails supposedly linking her to Daniel, she systematically dismantled their authenticity. "These reference meetings that never happened," she explained. "The timestamps show I was supposedly writing emails while security logs prove I was working in other parts of the mansion." During a brief recess, Ethan's lead attorney cornered her in the hallway. "Ms. Hart, my client is prepared to offer you full immunity. A fresh start, generous compensation. All you need to do is confirm Sebastian Vale's involvement in certain financial irregularities." "No," Mia said firmly. "I won't lie to protect myself." She turned to leave, but found Marcus blocking her path. His smile was razor sharp. "Such loyalty," he purred. "I wonder what my brother promised you. A piece of the empire, or just his bed?" Before Mia could respond, Sebastian materialized between them. His presence was electric with contained fury. "Step back, Marcus," he warned, voice low and dangerous. "Now!" Camera shutters clicked rapidly, tomorrow's headlines capturing the confrontation. Sebastian's hand rested protectively on Mia's lower back as he guided her away from Marcus's sneer. Back in the jury room, Mia's testimony grew stronger. She detailed Rosa's discovery of suspicious payments, the pattern of intimidation, the elaborate scheme to discredit her. "Why didn't you accept the various offers to drop your testimony?" the prosecutor asked. "Because the truth matters." Mia replied simply. "I've spent my life taking care of my sister, working honest jobs, trying to do what's right. I won't throw that away for blood money. The afternoon brought the breakthrough. Rosa burst into the antechamber during a break, clutching documents. Sebastian's forensic team had found something explosive, a direct payment from Marcus's private account to a shell company labeled Pierce Settlement. More damning still, the digital signature used to forge Mia's emails contained traces of old Vale Holdings encryption, a system only someone with historical access could have used. The signature's degradation pattern matches our 2019 security protocols. The forensic expert testified. This wasn't an outside hack. Someone with administrative access cloned Ms. Hart's current credentials using archived system keys. Marcus's face had gone ash-grey. Ethan quickly huddled with his lawyers, their whispers growing heated. The grand jury deliberated for 2 hours. When they returned, their foreman read the findings with grave authority. We find sufficient evidence to support indictments against as yet unnamed co-conspirators in an ongoing criminal enterprise. Furthermore, we recommend an immediate, temporary restraining order freezing all accounts associated with Marcus Vale pending further investigation. Security officers moved to confiscate Marcus's phones and devices. He struggled briefly, shouting about family betrayal, but the evidence was overwhelming. Ethan Cole slipped out during the chaos, his face unreadable. He was wounded, but not finished. His public campaign against Vale Holdings could still do damage. Outside the courthouse, reporters swarmed. Sebastian kept Mia close as they navigated the gauntlet of questions. Ms. Hart, do you deny having a relationship with Sebastian Vale? Mr. Vale, will you comment on the family connection to these allegations? They pushed through to the waiting car, ignoring the shouted questions. Inside, Mia finally allowed herself to shake. You did brilliantly, Sebastian said softly, taking her hand. It's not over though, is it? She asked. No, Ethan will regroup, try a different angle, but today? Sebastian's rare smile appeared. Today we landed a decisive blow. Back at Vale Manor, Rosa was waiting with tea and quiet pride. The staff moved with lighter steps, sensing the shift in power. Marcus's shadow no longer darkened the halls. In Sebastian's study, they reviewed the day's developments. The restraining order would cripple Marcus's ability to leverage company assets. The proof of internal system access demolished the narrative of Mia as an outside conspirator. What happens now? Mia asked, watching Sebastian study the forensic reports. Now we build on this momentum. The grand jury's findings give us legal grounds to audit everything, every account, every shell company, every deal Marcus and Ethan tried to hide. Mia nodded, feeling the weight of the past 4 days. Her testimony had changed everything, but the cost of truth was high. Tomorrow would bring new challenges, new attacks from Ethan's camp. But for now, in this moment, they had won something precious. Validation of her integrity, proof of her loyalty, and the first real crack in their enemy's armor. The downtown conference room felt like a pressure cooker. Ethan Cole sat across the polished table, his smile practiced and predatory. 2 lawyers flanked him, tablets ready. It's a generous offer, Sebastian, Ethan said, sliding the document forward. Vale Tech Solutions for a clean exit. No charges, no further investigation. Your reputation stays intact. Sebastian didn't touch the paper. Mia watched from her position near the wall, noting how his jaw tightened, the only visible sign of his tension. And if I refuse? Sebastian's voice was glacier cold. Then the board sees everything. Every detail about your father's creative accounting. Every skeleton Marcus has kindly provided. Ethan's smile widened. The press would have a field day. You mean the selective information Marcus fed you? Sebastian leaned forward. Interesting how you omit the offshore accounts linking back to your firm. A flicker of uncertainty crossed Ethan's face. Rosa's discovery had been meticulous, payment trails, coded emails, meeting timestamps, all carefully hidden until now, waiting for the right moment. Your bluffs won't save you. Ethan recovered smoothly. The shareholders want stability. You're a liability. Speaking of liabilities, Sebastian countered, how would your investors react to proof you orchestrated Rosa's kidnapping? The temperature in the room seemed to drop. Ethan's lawyers exchanged worried glances. That's absurd. Ethan scoffed, but his confidence wavered. Is it? We have the safe house rental agreement, the payment to Daniel Pierce, the shell company Marcus used to funnel your funds. Mia watched Ethan's composure crack slightly. She thought of Rosa's quiet strength during her testimony, of the evidence they'd gathered while the press focused on scandal. Sebastian stood, buttoning his jacket. You have until tomorrow to withdraw your takeover bid. After that, everything goes public. You're bluffing. Ethan snapped. You wouldn't risk. Try me. They left Ethan sputtering threats. In the elevator, Sebastian's shoulders remained rigid with tension. He'll retaliate, Mia said softly. I'm counting on it. Back at Vale Manor, they found chaos. Marcus had launched his counterstrike. Intimate family details splashed across news sites. Sebastian's childhood trauma, his father's questionable deals, even photos of Mia entering Sebastian's private wing late at night. They're painting you as unstable, Mia said, scanning headlines. Compromised by emotion and our relationship. Sebastian's laugh was bitter. Marcus always did know where to stick the knife. The real blow came that evening. Marcus released documents suggesting Sebastian had covered up their father's involvement in a competitor's death years ago, the original sin that started the family's spiral of secrets. Is it true? Mia asked quietly. Sebastian stared out his study window. Our father made choices. I protected the company by burying them. I told myself it was for the greater good. And now? He turned to her, his expression raw. Now I choose truth, whatever it costs. The next morning, Sebastian authorized full disclosure. Every document Rosa had uncovered, every transaction Marcus had hidden, every connection to Ethan's hostile takeover, all of it went to regulators and select journalists. The impact was seismic. Marcus was detained for questioning about financial fraud. Major shareholders demanded emergency meetings. Ethan's carefully constructed narrative crumbled as evidence of his collusion emerged. Sebastian's phone buzzed constantly with calls from board members. Some supported his transparency. Others were furious at the damage to Vale Holdings' stock price. The company will recover, Sebastian told a worried Rosa. Truth has value beyond market caps. Mia found him late that night in his study, reviewing damage reports. The media was savage, but the evidence was irrefutable. Marcus's criminal enterprise was exposed. Ethan's hostile takeover was revealed as manipulation. You didn't have to choose this, Mia said. You could have protected your family's legacy. Sebastian looked up, his eyes tired but clear. Some legacies need to fall. What matters is what we build from the ruins. The week ended with Marcus in custody, Ethan's firm under investigation, and Vale Holdings in upheaval. Sebastian's position was precarious, but his moral standing was unassailable. He had chosen truth over power, protection over pride. In the quiet of evening, as reporters camped outside the gates and shareholders argued in emergency sessions, Sebastian and Mia stood on his private balcony. Was it worth it? She asked. He touched her face gently. You taught me something about worth. It's not measured in stock prices or public opinion. It's in the choice to do what's right, even when it costs everything. Below them, the city lights sparkled. Vale Holdings would survive, transformed but stronger. The truth had cost them dearly, but as Sebastian held Mia close, they knew some prices were worth paying. The evidence Rosa had gathered continued to send shockwaves through the financial world. Each revelation confirmed Sebastian's decision, exposing decades of corruption, even at the expense of his family's carefully curated image. Marcus's detention was extended as investigators uncovered more layers of financial fraud. Ethan's firm faced multiple regulatory inquiries. The very empire they had tried to steal was now witnessing their downfall. Board members called for emergency sessions to discuss Vale Holdings' future. Some demanded Sebastian's resignation. Others praised his ethical stand. The company's stock price fluctuated wildly as markets absorbed each new revelation. Yet through it all, Sebastian remained steady. He had chosen truth over legacy, love over power. The cost was high, his family name tarnished, his leadership questioned, his private life exposed. But watching Mia's unwavering support, seeing Rosa's quiet pride, he knew he had chosen correctly. The week ended with uncertainty hanging over Vale Holdings' future, but with the satisfaction of justice finally served. Marcus's schemes were exposed, Ethan's manipulation revealed, and the truth, painful but necessary, was finally free. 3 days after the evidence release, the federal courthouse buzzed with media crews. Security barriers held back protesters waving signs, "Veil truth now and end corporate corruption." Inside courtroom 7A, Ethan Cole's polished facade finally cracked. The prosecutor methodically displayed financial records on overhead screens, wire transfers, shell companies, Marcus Vale's signature on documents authorizing payments to Daniel Pierce. "Mr. Cole," the prosecutor asked, "please explain these transfers to Pierce Solutions." Ethan tugged his collar. "Standard business consultancy. For what services exactly?" Before Ethan could answer, the prosecutor played the recording. Daniel Pierce's voice filled the courtroom. "Cole guaranteed coverage if I could get dirt on Vale's new hire. Said Marcus would make it worth my while." Mia sat in the gallery, watching Ethan squirm. Sebastian squeezed her hand, a quiet gesture of support. The evidence mounted. Marcus's offshore accounts, Ethan's coded emails discussing leverage, surveillance photos of their secret meetings. The conspiracy unraveled thread by thread. During a recess, reporters swarmed the courthouse steps. Sebastian faced them directly, Mia at his side. "Vale Holdings acknowledges past mistakes," he began. "My father made choices that hurt people. I perpetuated those secrets, believing I was protecting something valuable. I was wrong." Camera shutters clicked rapidly. "Today I'm announcing comprehensive reforms. We're appointing 5 new independent directors. All financial records will undergo external audit. A new ethics committee will have full investigative authority." Questions exploded. "Mr. Vale, what about Marcus Vale's role? Any comment on Ethan Cole's testimony?" Sebastian raised his hand for quiet. "Justice must run its course. Vale Holdings will cooperate fully with all investigations." Inside his private office later that afternoon, Sebastian signed a thick stack of documents while his lawyers watched. "The trust fund is ironclad," his attorney confirmed. $5 million initial endowment, renewable annually, full medical coverage for Ms. Hart's sister, plus educational grants for 50 other qualifying candidates annually. "And the governance structure?" Sebastian asked. "Independent board. Ms. Hart has full discretion if she accepts the director position. No Vale Holdings control." Mia studied the papers, stunned. "Sebastian, this is not charity," he said firmly. "It's justice. What happened to you and Lena? It happens to thousands. This fund gives them choices I tried to control." She touched the papers. "Why give up control?" "Because true help doesn't come with strings." He met her eyes. "You taught me that." The afternoon brought more revelations. Marcus Vale was led into court in handcuffs, his designer suit wrinkled from detention. He glared at Sebastian but said nothing as charges were read. Conspiracy, fraud, witness tampering. Daniel Pierce appeared via video link, already cutting a deal. He detailed how Ethan recruited him, how Marcus provided insider information, how they planned to frame Mia and force Sebastian out. They promised me protection, Daniel admitted. Said Vale Holdings would fall, and I'd be set for life. The judge's gavel punctuated each new charge. Ethan's face grew paler. Marcus slumped in his chair. Their carefully constructed plot collapsed completely. That evening, Sebastian and Mia walked through Vale Manor's quiet gardens. The media circus felt distant here. I keep waiting for the other shoe to drop, Mia admitted. It feels surreal. The hard part comes next, Sebastian said. Rebuilding, making Vale Holdings transparent without destroying what works. And us? She stopped, facing him. The power imbalance doesn't just vanish. No. He touched her cheek. But we can build something new. Equal partners, different strengths. You're still a billionaire CEO. And you're still the woman who taught me integrity matters more than power. He smiled slightly. Run the foundation. Build something that helps others escape what you faced. I'll support without controlling. Inside, Rosa waited with news. Ethan Cole had resigned from his firm. Marcus's accounts were frozen worldwide. Daniel Pierce's plea deal required full testimony. The board approved all reforms, Rosa added. Some grudgingly, but they saw no choice after today's evidence. Sebastian nodded. Schedule the press conference for tomorrow. Full transparency. Later, alone in Sebastian's study, Mia reviewed the foundation documents again. The scope was breathtaking. Medical aid, education grants, emergency support. Everything she'd once desperately needed. You're giving me real power here, she said quietly. Yes. Sebastian didn't look up from his desk. Because you'll use it wisely. The press will say I manipulated you. Gold digger, social climber. Now he did look up. Let them. We know the truth. The truth. Such a simple word for such a complex thing. The truth was that power and love could coexist if both people chose integrity. The truth was that helping others didn't require controlling them. The next morning's papers splashed headlines. Vale Holdings reforms amid scandal, and Cole Marcus Vale face federal charges. But smaller headlines caught Mia's eye. Vale Foundation launches New Hope for Medical Debt, and independent charity signals real change. Sebastian found her reading these in his kitchen, still in her robe, drinking coffee. Having second thoughts? He asked. About the foundation. No. She smiled. About letting you make breakfast? Definitely. He laughed, a real laugh, free from the weight of secrets. I'm learning. Yes, she said softly. We both are. Outside, reporters still camped at the gates. Investigations would continue for months. Vale Holdings faced scrutiny and restructuring. But inside, in this moment, they had found their balance. Power tempered by compassion, ambition guided by ethics, love strengthened by equality. The autumn breeze rustled through the charity's ribbon-cutting ceremony. Mia adjusted the small podium sign. Heart Foundation, a new beginning. Simple, understated, like everything she'd insisted on. Third revision of the quarterly report. Her assistant whispered, sliding papers onto her desk. The board loved the educational outreach expansion. Mia nodded, scanning the statistics. 57 families assisted with medical debt, 23 educational grants awarded, a growing wait list for the mentorship program, real change, measured in lives improved rather than profits gained. The foundation occupied a converted brownstone, warm brick walls, large windows, and a constant stream of people seeking help. No marble floors or crystal chandeliers. just hope, practically applied. Lena sat in the front row, colour in her cheeks for the first time in years. The specialized care team had worked miracles, giving her back pieces of normal life. She still needed support, but the constant crisis had passed. Ready? Rosa appeared at Mia's elbow, elegant in a navy suit. She'd insisted on joining the Foundation's board while maintaining her Vale Manor duties. The press is settling in. Small press, Mia emphasized. Local outlets only. Of course. Rosa's eyes twinkled, though a certain CEO might make an appearance. Sebastian arrived as Mia finished her speech. He stood at the back, commanding in his tailored suit, but careful not to overshadow the event. Their eyes met across the room. His small nod said everything. The Foundation launch flowed into evening, fairy lights twinkling in the courtyard. Close friends gathered for what they thought was a celebration dinner. Only Rosa knew the truth. Mia changed into a simple cream dress, no veil or train. Sebastian waited in the garden with a justice of the peace and their handful of guests. No cameras, no press release, no society pages. "You're sure about the small ceremony?" Sebastian had asked last week. "Completely," Mia answered. "We've had enough spectacle." Now, walking toward him under the stars, Mia saw the rightness of their choice. Sebastian's usual mask of control softened into something real and rare, a smile that reached his eyes. Their vows were brief, honest. Sebastian promised to support without controlling, to protect while respecting independence. Mia vowed to partner equally, to challenge and ground him. Rosa dabbed her eyes. Lena beamed from her wheelchair. The moment belonged purely to them. Later, at home, they settled into their private rhythm. Sebastian's penthouse had slowly accumulated Mia's touches. Medical textbooks mixed with financial reports, her coffee mug beside his expensive espresso machine. The Foundation's first quarter exceeded projections, Sebastian noted, loosening his tie. "Because we're meeting real needs," Mia replied, "not just throwing money at problems." He nodded. "The board was impressed with your presentation last week." "The independent board," she emphasized with a smile. "No veil holding strings." "As promised." He pulled her close. "Though I do enjoy watching you command a boardroom." Their mornings developed an easy pattern. Sebastian still rose at dawn for early meetings, but now he brought Mia coffee in bed first. She split time between the Foundation and home, building something meaningful while maintaining their connection. Vale Holdings thrived under its new transparency. Marcus awaited trial from detention, his attempts at leverage neutralized by evidence. Ethan Cole had vanished to some tropical tax haven, reputation in tatters. The press eventually tired of speculation about the mysterious Mrs. Vale, who ran a charity instead of attending galas. Mia preferred it that way. Her work spoke for itself. Sebastian remained formidable in business, the same calculated force that commanded markets and closed deals. But at home, he showed a different side. He learned to cook simple meals, helped with Lena's physical therapy, left work early for Foundation events. One morning, 6 months and 2 days after their first meeting, Mia knelt trying to tie Lena's shoelace before a doctor's appointment. The stubborn bow wouldn't cooperate. "Please, just make it fast," she muttered, fingers fumbling. Sebastian paused in the doorway, coffee in hand. Without hesitation, he set down his cup and knelt beside her. His capable fingers made quick work of the lace while Lena giggled. "Some things are worth slowing down for," he said softly. Mia touched his cheek, remembering that first desperate morning, rain-soaked and terrified, whispering those same words in Vale Manor's foyer. How far they'd come, from survival to partnership. The morning sun streamed through their windows, painting everything in gentle light. Sebastian helped Lena into her wheelchair, while Mia gathered her medical files. Their new normal, built on trust, shaped by choice, stronger for the storms weathered together. "Ready?" Sebastian asked, car keys in hand. "With you?" Mia smiled. "Always." They headed out into the bright autumn morning, equal partners facing whatever came next. Not a fairy tale ending, but something better. A life they'd chosen together, balancing power with vulnerability, ambition with compassion, love with respect. The foundation awaited Mia's afternoon meetings. Vale Holdings needed Sebastian's strategic mind. But first they had a family breakfast to enjoy, a quiet moment to treasure in the busy flow of their shared life. Thank you for listening. Stories connect us in the most unexpected ways. If you felt that spark today, make sure you're subscribed. I share a new one daily, and the next might change your day.